All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our application tips and tricks webinar. So this webinar is going to focus on everything about your application. So timeline, materials that you need to get in, and we'll take a deeper dive into all the things you need to in order to submit a successful application. Before we get started, just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Emily Markley. I just finished up my 2 years teaching middle school math in Oklahoma City. And now I work on our recruitment team and then also our pastoral team. And then I'm here with my colleague, Mike. Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining, no matter when you're watching this. My name is Mike Camino. I oversee our recruitment and admissions efforts for ACE Teaching Fellows, graduated as a member of the 21st cohort, been back now the last 10 or so years working on our team. So thanks for your interest. Excited to share a little bit more with you all here.
Great, thanks, Mike. So here's just a brief introduction or an agenda of what we're going to go through today. So we've introduced ourselves. We're going to talk about application timeline, the materials that you're going to need to submit for your application, talk about some of our programming and ways to meet with our team and get involved. And then if you have any questions following this webinar, feel free to reach out to any of our team members from the website. So to just start off with the application timeline, depending on when you're watching this, these dates might not be exactly the timeline that you're looking for, but they're going to be roughly the same every year. So application for the 2024 to 2025 cycle, application opens September 10th, and then we have two deadlines. So the fall deadline is going to be November 5th, 2024. Spring deadline is going to be January 21st, 2025. The biggest difference between these two deadlines is that when you get notified in the fall, whether you're accepted or not, we cannot provide the details of your placement at that time because we're still working with our school partners about what positions are open and where we can place you. If we tell you in the spring that you're going to be admitted, we will also be able to tell you those details. So for example, we have a middle school math position at St. Charles Borromeo in Oklahoma City. We are going to tell you the details of your placement at that time. As far as the materials, Mike is going to get into what these look like a little bit more specifically, but we're going to ask for a transcript, a resume. You're going to answer some personal essays. We'll also ask you to submit the names of 3 recommenders that can attest to your ability to work in an academic environment and then also a community or spiritual environment. And then we also have a test optional policy, so you do not need to submit any test scores. But if you think that they can help boost your application, you are more than welcome to do so.
I'll jump in here, Emily, then and talk a little bit about the different application materials that we require. So stick with me, folks, here in the next couple minutes. We'll give you some insider tips and tricks here along the way. So to start, I'll say a quick word about some of the biographical and educational background information. So resumes, unofficial transcripts, and our test optional policy. So in regard to resumes, my biggest tip for folks is to make sure that they're clean and clearly formatted. If you go to the University of Notre Dame's Career Center website, there's actually a template or a number of templates that they provide that I think are really good models for what a good resume is and how it's formatted. You can see an example here from Mr. Wilson on the right, but no spelling mistakes, clearly organized, maximizes use of this space, and again, is kept to a single page. So we recognize that for some individuals, that'll mean trimming down on some of the professional and college experiences that you've had up to this point. That's intentional. So we want you to be very careful and thoughtful about the experiences that you're highlighting and how you see those as being directly related to your interest and readiness to serve with ACE. I think similarly in regards to transcript, it can be an unofficial transcript. In fact, it must be an unofficial transcript. If you request transcripts to be sent directly from your institution to us, we will not receive them. So you must either download them from your student portals or get that information from your institutions directly and then upload it to your application on your behalf. So please, please, please do not send official transcripts. And then last but not least, in regards to our test optional policy, we do not require exams as part of application post-COVID as the university has moved in that direction. Last year, to give you an example, only 8 students of our 350 plus applicants submitted standardized test scores. So we hope that you do not feel as though you need to include test scores as part of your application, but Know that if you have taken those exams and wish to include them, you're welcome to upload them unofficial as part of your application. I'll transition here and talk a little bit about our short essays. And admittedly, folks, I'm the one who set the word count. So if you become frustrated having one too many words, you can email me your frustration. But we are intentional in those word counts. We want folks to be concise and to please directly answer the question. So would always encourage folks to type their responses in a Google Doc or a Word doc outside of our system. Have peers and relatives or friends review those before then copying and pasting them into the application. The biggest piece of advice that I'll give here is that we ultimately and honestly want you to be authentic in your responses, right? There are no right or wrong answers to each of these questions. In our admissions and then ultimately our placement team find your responses very helpful in thinking about the gifts and talents that you bring to a school community that may need them. And on the flip side, how those schools communities best mirror the types of supports that you received in your undergrad and young professional life to thrive as a professional and in your personal kind of flourishment and well-being there. Again, one other note that I'll just mention here, please be concrete. So we want you to speak to and articulate specific stories, experiences, or relationships in each of those short responses. Next, I'll talk about a new portion of the application that we just introduced last year, which is our placement consideration. So you do on your application have the opportunity to preference grade level, develop grade level content area, as well as geographic preference. You'll note here in the tips section, we do not guarantee placement, as you might imagine, soliciting requests and needs from our partner schools and also maximizing their matching their needs and the applicant pool. We do our best, though we don't guarantee any placement there. We do encourage a sense of voluntary displacement. And so the more open someone is to grade level, content area, or geographic flexibility, frankly, the higher likelihood that they're eligible for admittance, because it gives our team more opportunity to place you with a school community. As you can see from our map here, we serve in, we're transnational, but we serve in 6 distinct regions that we ask folks to preference: California, the Midwest, Mountain, the Northeast, South, and Southeast. And again, this may vary from year to year depending on what cycle that you're applying to, but you can find the most up-to-date map on where we serve on our website. And then last but not least, I'll just speak briefly to letters of recommendation. We require 3 letters of recommendation, but you can submit up to 4 letters, no more than 4 letters, please. 2 of those letters must be from an academic professor or someone who has taught you in your undergraduate courses. If you are not applying to ACE directly from your undergraduate institution, you can substitute one of those professor recommendations with a professional rec, so from a current supervisor or boss. But there must be at least one professor recommendation in that particular instance. I would challenge folks to think about the 3 pillars as they're asking for letters of recommendation. So again, it's likely the case that a single recommender may not be able to speak to your readiness and eagerness to serve as a teacher, to live and work in community, and to grow in your faith. But when you think about the suite of letters that you've recommended, right, all 3 or 4, you should imagine that at least one recommender is touching on each of those 3 pillars. So if that's helpful, and if you have questions about who to ask, again, as Emily mentioned, feel free to reach out to our team. We're more than happy to discuss that with you. Last but not least, you'll notice when you request letters, there's a question at the end before you click send this off to my recommender that asks whether or not you waive your right to view your letter of recommendation. We strongly, and I cannot emphasize this strongly enough, we strongly recommend that you waive your right to view that letter. Simply put, if you don't waive your letter, your recommender is made aware that you may read their letter of recommendation, and oftentimes that results in a more vague letter, which is not helpful for your candidacy or admission. So again, always and strongly encourage you to waive your right to viewing your letters of recommendation, and trust that your recommenders, whom you're asking, that they will best represent you to our admissions and placement committee. So again, some tips and tricks there. Reach out to our team if you have any questions, but I'll turn it over to Em as we're wrapping up, just to talk about other ways that you can engage with our team. So Emily.
Great, thanks, Mike. So if you have found this video, that means that you have found the ACE website, which is awesome. So please continue to explore our website. We have a plethora of other webinars that you can watch and join us for throughout both semesters. If you are a Notre Dame or St. Mary's or Holy Cross or student or find yourself on campus, please stop by our office in Remick Family Hall and connect with a member of our ACE team during a campus visit. We'd really love to have a conversation with you and continue to get to know you as you discern whether ACE is for you and hopefully submit an application. And so here are just the members of our team currently. So we have people who focus more on our recruiting efforts, and then people who focus more on our formation with our current ACE teachers. But all in all, we are really just excited to support you in your application process and help answer all of your questions. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we really just want to continue to have this conversation. If you found yourself watching this webinar, then you're most likely pretty interested in ACE Teaching Fellows. So we would love to continue to walk with you throughout this process. Please don't hesitate to reach out. The best is yet to come. So thank you, guys.